Iona and Rider entered the People's United Center to take on the Quinnipiac men's basketball team this past week. How many wins did the Bobcats leave this weekend with?
And men's ice hockey hosted LIU tonight. Ryan Flaherty is in studio to tell us how they did.
A preview for spring sports and fall sports in the spring. We'll find a better name for the fall sports playing in the spring soon. And, of course, your top 5 plays, all that and more are coming up on Sports Paws. Just past 9:30 on a Monday night in SC25. Jonathan Banks and Jacob Resnick with you. And we open up this program with some breaking news. I'm going to read this from my phone. It's regarding the Quinnipiac men's basketball team. An official statement that came out 9 minutes ago, so at 9:21, out of an abundance of caution after a positive COVID-19 test from a recent MAC opponent, Wednesday's men's basketball game between Quinnipiac and Siena has been canceled. We look forward to competing at Marist this weekend, and will continue to adhere to all health and safety guidelines set forth by the university health officials. So to clarify, Quinnipiac against Siena on Wednesday was supposed to be on Wednesday is a no-go, Jacob.
Well, Quinnipiac did play this past weekend against Rider, hosted them for a 2-game series. Let's see how they did. Rider Bronx coming off a pause of their own, almost a month. Quinnipiac had won against Iona on Wednesday. We'll start in the first half on Saturday. J.J. Riggins, the big man, getting his first career start. Quinnipiac coming out on a 9-3 run. That's Taimu Shinnery. He had 18 on the day. And now how about Luis Courtwright? The first-year breakout guard hits a tough 3. But Rider crawling back into things. Tyrese Williams misses. How about Christian Ings going coast to coast? 21-21. Quinnipiac up 36-34 at the half. Second half action now. Quinnipiac coming out on a run, but Rider answered back. Here's some more Christian Ings and one, 50-47. And how about Dwight Murray with the tough layup, 53-53. But that's where things went all Bobcats. Luis Courtwright, we might see that one later. And in transition, finding Jacob Ragoni from deep. Bobcats going a 9-0 run. How about Ragoni finding Savion Lewis with the nice dime. Quinnipiac a big lead. And you don't see this every day. Kevin Baggett, the Rider head coach, getting extremely animated.
He was talking too much, Jake. He was talking too much.
Not one, but 2 technical fouls. Baggett was ejected. And that would be it for Quinnipiac, 80-64, the final score.
Just like Tom Krasnowski on the softball court, just some things you can't say on the softball field. But a big win for the Bobcats in Game 1. Instead of Jacob and I listing some stats and trends, let's go in depth with our experts. Jack Main and Eric Kerr, their post-game analysis after the Quinnipiac win.
The Quinnipiac men's basketball team secured their second straight victory with a win over the Rider Bronx 80-64. Jack Main joined by basketball beat reporter Eric Kerr. Eric, this game was close up until halftime. What changed in the second half to allow the Bobcats to pull away?
Well, I think it was one simple adjustment that Baker Dunleavy made, and that was to go to the 5-out offense. We saw Jacob Ragoni at times even starting at center for this team, and what that did is that created a lot more space for this Bobcats offense to operate. With Ragoni's ability to shoot the 3, several other players were able to make backdoor cuts, get inside the paint. We saw Savion Lewis made a couple good cuts to the basket, allowed space for guys like Luis Courtwright to be able to drive and get by the defender and get easy baskets for this team. It was an adjustment Baker Dunleavy mentioned in the press conference that maybe this isn't something they're going to go with going forward, but it was just the way they were able to do it against this Rider team that it presented a good opportunity to run this type of offense.
Now, 3 guys led the Bobcats in scoring today with 18 points, but who is your team MVP?
I mean, easy answer for me, Jack. It's got to be Jacob Ragoni, one of the leading scorers today for Quinnipiac at 18 points, but also had a double-double in the game as well, 15 rebounds, including 14 defensive rebounds, doing a solid job of boxing out his man and crashing the glass to get those rebounds. He also talked about 2 for 4 from 3, so being able to find his shots as he normally does from the three-point land and knock it down, including one really, really deep 3 that you may remember in the second half. That was from another land down under, if I may add a little pun myself there. But, Jacob Ragoni, again, solid game for him, double-double. No doubt deserves the MVP performance.
The Bobcats and Bronx will be back at it again tomorrow, 1 p.m. from the People's United Center. For The Rebound, I'm Jack Main. He's Eric Kerr. This is QE30 Sports.
Thank you, Eric and Jack. Rider hung on until just over 9 minutes ago when not playing for under a month, about 28 days, caught up to them, and Quinnipiac went on that 11-0 run to seal the deal. But could their fresh legs help in Game 2? Let's roll the tape and find out. Quinnipiac and Ryder Bobcats coming off an 80-64 win against Ryder on Saturday afternoon. Will take it early in the first half. Savion Lewis finds Taimu Shinnery, lays it in just as smooth as putting a pancake on a griddle. Quinnipiac takes the early lead still in the first half. Tyrese Williams from the corner. That's true and that's pure. Bobcats still leading, but Ryder would fight back. Jalen McGlone, that's a 3-ball, and then they're going to slow it down, moving the offense forward. Alan Powell, Rodney Henderson Jr., Jacob Rigoni. Got to play tougher D than that. It's a close game in Hampden right now. Later in the first half, Lewis Courtwright, Brendan McGuire, Jacob Rigoni, and that is good. Rigoni closing in on that 3-point record. The Bobcats were up 15 at halftime as they extended that lead. Second half, Dwight Murray Jr. hard to the hoop. And the foul. You can count the bucket, but Ryder still trailing big. And then Seth Pinckney. Get up, big fella. That's a nice dunk there for Pinckney, but he wasn't done yet. Taimu Shinnery, the steal. Seth Pinckney running in transition. And Seth Pinckney flushing in transition. QU up a ton. Late second half. Beautiful passing. Jacob Rigoni is going to get this, and you'll see this play later. Prime San Antonio Spurs to Quinnipiac's 25. He gets it to go. Bobcats win big, 93-68.
I think if you squint, you could have seen Manu Ginobili out there on the court for the Bobcats.
Tony Parker with the original pass.
So with the Bobcats now winners of 3 straight, let's check out the updated MAC standings. And you see Quinnipiac slowly but surely creeping back up. The Bobcats now 5-3 in their last 8 to put them just a game under 500. It's still a ways to go to catch Monmouth in first place. We're now joined live in studio by Q30 men's basketball beat reporter Kevin Higgins. And Kevin, let's just jump right into it. We're hitting the home stretch of the college basketball season, so what better time to pick some QU team awards? Let's start with your Rookie of the Year for the Bobcats.
Well, Jacob, thank you. And there were a lot of talented first years on Quinnipiac this year, but none more so than Taimu Shinnery. He was top 5 in the team in scoring, rebounds, field goal percentage, and 3-point field goal percentage. It's always impressive to me when a player can make that leap from high school ball to college ball and make such an impact so quickly. I'm not sure what Baker Dunleavy necessarily expected from his young group this year, but it is clear to see. I don't think anybody could have predicted the breakout that Shinnery had, already becoming such an important part of this team. Again, other young talents, but I would say that Taimu Shinnery gets the nod for me.
And Kevin, you talk about Taimu Shinnery, and you talk about other players in that starting 5. Baker Dunleavy does like to rotate his squad a little bit, but Quinnipiac's 6th Man of the Year award thus far, who does that go to?
Well, Jonathan, you can always tell a Chaminade man, and Brendan McGuire is no exception. As a 6'7" Swiss Army knife type of player, you have the potential to make an impact in many facets of the game. The Long Island native does just that. He's a hybrid defensively at this point. At his size and unnatural speed for the position, he makes a bad time for any guard or forward in the MAC on any given day. He can dominate smaller guys, and he's actually tough enough to go in there with the big guys who have a couple of inches on him and give some quality defense. He looks a little lanky at first sight, but don't be fooled. This is one of the best defenders in the MAC. He's also a valuable offensive input guy, and I would say that the defense, though, has him over the top for me as the 6th Man of the Year.
Now, Kevin, you just mentioned it, defense wins championships, right? So who's been the Bobcats' Defensive Player of the Year so far?
Well, this is probably the easiest one, Jacob. It's Seth Pinckney, and that is just quite simply because he is a fully grown man and plays like it. Averaging over 2.5 blocks a game, which is good for 25th nationally. He's so far ahead of the rest of this team, as he probably should be, as 7'1". His 38 blocks are almost 3 times as much as any other player on the team. As I said, maybe expected to be a good defensive presence at that height, but Seth Pinckney is turning into perhaps the single most dominant defensive presence in the MAC. Quinnipiac's team defense this year has actually been great as a whole. They rank 5th nationally in opponents' field goal percentage allowed, but Pinckney is the cog, and when you can do what he does defensively, I can give you a fictitious award.
Fictitious award, it's true. It's not like any of these players really care what Kevin Higgins thinks, but I care who Quinnipiac's MVP is thus far. You mentioned 3 key cogs in the Quinnipiac engine. Is it one of them or another player who's been Quinnipiac's most valuable?
Well, Jonathan, I appreciate the compliment first and foremost, but I just want to say that when Rich Kelly and Kevin Marfo left this team, it was obviously going to be devastating. No player was impacted more than Jacob Rigoni. He all of a sudden went from the 2nd or 3rd scoring option to the lone senior and top returning scorer. After a hot and cold portion of the season early on, which was natural after such an increase in usage and shots. Rigoni has finally settled in as a reliable scorer and rebounder this year. He leads the team in both, and even though he's not the tallest guy, or maybe even the most offensively skilled, he is the workhorse. He's the only Bobcat averaging over 30 minutes a game, and also he has just completely revamped both facets of his game. As I mentioned, it's tough to go from second or three to unquestioned number one on the offensive end, and defensively, he even has to go from guarding wings and forwards to some of the big guys now. We've seen Baker Dunleavy put him at the 5 in some points. As someone who's been at Quinnipiac for as long as Jacob Rigoni has, personally, it has been incredible to watch his growth as a player, going from a Kyle Korver type of role player guy off the bench to the most important and best player on the team. If that doesn't define value, guys, I don't know what does.
Kevin, I don't know about you, but Kyle Korver is pretty valuable to me. All right, thank you as always. We're going to step aside for a quick break, but on the other side, women's basketball highlights. And Ryan Flaherty is in studio to break down tonight's men's ice hockey game. Don't go anywhere.
Hey, let's check out this park. Oh, wow, that's really cool.
To find a great local park or forest near you, go to discovertheforest.org.
There are amazing things to discover in the forest.
Toothless, time to go! What you picking up on, bud?
It's a whole hidden world of wonders. And the perfect place to spend time with family. What better place to let your imagination soar? Experience nature and create a memory you can share. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest or park near you.
Hey, let's check out this park. Oh, wow, that's really cool.
To find a great local park or forest near you, go to discovertheforest.org.
There are amazing things to discover in the forest.
Toothless, time to go! What you picking up on, bud?
It's a whole hidden world of wonders. And the perfect place to spend time with family. What better place to let your imagination soar? Experience nature and create a memory you can share. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest or park near you.
Thanks for sticking with us on Sports Paws. The Quinnipiac women's basketball team hosted the Siena Saints this past week. It was the Bobcats' last 2 home games. Let's see if they were able to pull out a victory or 2. Siena only 8 games entering the weekend. Quinnipiac quite a few more. It's been tough for everyone in the MAC this season. We'll start in the first quarter. Isis Young driving on Mackenzie DeWeese gets the little finger roll to go off the glass. Later in the quarter with Siena down 2. Young fighting through traffic. Lays it in.
I think
Siena.
she's pretty good. She got the first 2 buckets in this highlight.
We'll see a little bit more of her as we get on. Second quarter now, Kiara Bikini stepping in the passing lane, driving down. Little stutter step, gets it to go. Quinnipiac up 2 on the very next possession. Michaela Morris going to work. Down low, a little spin off the glass, gets the friendly roll. Quinnipiac up 4, now Mackenzie DeWeese. She gets a little jumper in the paint to go. And later in the half, Amani Free, check the reaction.
We like that.
The Jordan shrug for Free. Quinnipiac up 4 at the half. And in transition, Vanessa Udoji. Quinnipiac up 8, and later in the quarter, the block, DeWeese.
Transition again.
There's Udoji once more. Gets it to go. Quinnipiac up 8, and into the fourth quarter, this is all Bobcats. Michaela Morris once again, layup, good. Rose Caverly finds Tiara White, the first year inside. Quinnipiac up 14, And once more, the Cavalry to Tierra White connection on the run.
We like that
Quinnipiac
again.
rolls 84-63.
You saw the end of that score, Bug. 63 points in a loss for Siena. Keep that number in mind as the Bobcats and Saints battle in Game 2 on Sunday. Let's see what happened there. Game 2, Quinnipiac taking on Siena. And this highlight, it's got a melt look, and it's got some three-pointers for you. Rachel Brown to Isis Young for the three-pointer. First bucket of the game. A few plays later, Mackenzie DeWeese. Rose Calvary, guess what you can do, Jacob? Count that in the foul. Calvary, however, would miss the free throw. But she would be back, fakes, and makes the three. Quinnipiac now down just 2. Next possession, it's her. It's a 3-ball, and you know that's cash.
Are we playing
money.
these plays over again?
No, it's just her hitting it again. She had 18, and then you see this? That is such a good three-pointer, and you're going to see that later in the show. That's why we went away from the melt look. Siena goes into the break leading by 5 early third quarter. Quinnipiac down 2. It's her again.
We're definitely playing these on repeat.
She went 4 for 7 from 3. Yeah, we're playing it on repeat. This is going to be a new play, though. Actually, just kidding, because Isis Young has already been in this highlight, and she knocks down the 3, and then here she is again from the corner. We got to tell the producers to mix it up and put some different players in, Jacob, but they were the story of the game, except Margot Peterson heard me there. She knocks down the corner 3. Siena goes up 2. It's now tied with 5 minutes left. Kiara Bikini steals, feeds. Mackenzie DeWeese, oh, that's pretty. Mackenzie DeWeese poured in 18. The Bobcats up 2. Young hits the jumper. 53 seconds left. Siena's down 1. And then Rachel Brown to the rack for the win. Quinnipiac takes this 63-60.
And after Sunday's game, Q30 women's basketball beat reporter Kylesia Smith spoke to the team.
The Quinnipiac women's basketball team wrapped up a 2-game series against the Siena Saints this weekend. The Bobcats took Game 1 but fell short in Game 2 against the Saints, losing their 5-game winning streak. This was a big upset for the Bobcats, but despite the loss, there were some good lessons learned and takeaways to prepare them for this weekend's matchup.
You know, every loss is taken to heart, and, you know, it's rough, like, seeing how the finish was today, but there are some good that come out of it, and this is not the MAC tournament right yet, and we need to learn from today and learn how to finish games. I as well need to learn how to finish games, and we'll need to use this going into not only the tournament, but we have 2 games left against Niagara.
We would have liked to have closed it out at home with a W. There's no doubt about it. We thought this was a real special moment. Didn't do it. You know, you're never happy in a loss, but maybe it's not in the grander scheme of things, not a bad time to kind of grab everyone's attention again, and you know, to get back on the bus and get 2 against Niagara, and let's go grab that 2 seed heading into Atlantic City. So I think you're trying to always look at, even through a loss, a silver lining and why it can be good. So I think in that regard, we're going to use it towards a positive.
The Bobcats will hit the road for the last scheduled 2-game MAC series against Niagara.
And let's take a look at the updated MAC women's basketball standings after the weekend. Quinnipiac still holding on to that number 2 spot. The Bobcats winners of 9 of their last 11. A chance to finish the regular season on a high note next weekend. Quinnipiac heads to upstate New York for a series with Niagara.
Quinnipiac women's basketball, they're in second place, but the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team first place in ECAC hockey. Sports Paws has been going down well here in Studio 125, and our guy Ryan Flaherty has been locked in on the action on York Hill at the People's United Center as the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team took on LIU tonight. Ryan, what can you tell us about tonight's action, the result, and a little bit more with it?
Thanks for having me, guys. You know, on its face, a 7-1 win. Not a lot of takeaways from tonight's game, you would think, but here are 3 things to think about that I saw during tonight's game, right? The special teams has been huge for the Bobcats. 2 for 3 tonight on the power play. Going along with their last game, 4 for 8. They're 6 for 11 in their last tries on the power play. You see it here, they were 2 for 3 tonight. Also 0 for 2 was LIU on the power play. The Bobcats are 6 for 6 on their last 6 kills. Those numbers move them into the top 10 nationally in both categories. When they're in the top 10 in those categories, they've been playing at their best historically throughout the years. Second thing is the depth scoring. We saw a lot of that in the past 2 games. And now you're thinking, yes, they scored 16 goals, so they're going to come from a lot of different places, but we've seen it throughout the entire year. Christophe Filion finally broke through this weekend. Today, 2 goals. Tonight, he had a goal in his last game. We've seen guys like Avari Rassinen, a young defenseman. He has 3 points in his last 3 games, 3 assists. Guys like Michael Lombardi, Peter DeLiberatore had a couple of points tonight. He was a big key on the power play. That is going to be huge for them moving forward. Hearing more of those names, the Smolanics, the Tuftos, the DeYoungs are going to be there, but they need that depth scoring if they're going to make a run in the playoffs. And then the final thing, and the best thing I think that came out of tonight, was that they didn't take LIU lightly. This is a new program, a new Division I hockey team, and they stepped on the gas in the second period. The first period, they played well. They played a good first 20 minutes. Head coach Rand Pecknold said he loved the start from his team, but they came out in the second period. They really put their foot on the gas. They scored 5 goals to make it 6-1, and those are the 3 things that I thought were the biggest keys to tonight's game, and it was a great win for the Bobcats.
A great win indeed. Thanks, Ryan. Jacob, I was going to ask you a question, but I'm on my ISO camera, so I'm just going to say that was a great uni battle. I liked LIU's more, though, onto the women's hockey team, though. Unfortunately for them, their weekend series in New York against Clarkson University was canceled due to COVID-19 safety precautions. There is no scheduled makeup date for this matchup as of right now. The Bobcats are currently in the basement of the ECAC hockey standings with 8 points in 7 games and will do battle with league leaders Colgate this coming weekend here in Hamden.
We're going to take it to a quick break, but when we come back, we'll talk about spring sports, fall sports in the spring.
Nice.
And, of course, our top 5 plays. Stick with us.
I'm Jenny Garth, and as a mother of 3, I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. But here in America, that is a real worry for 1 in 5 children. This is unacceptable, and something Feeding America is working to solve. Through a nationwide network of food banks, Feeding America serves virtually every community in the United States, including yours. See how you can help your community. Visit feedingamerica.org. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
In the fall as well. Jonathan will touch on some of those later.
I'm here. I'll touch on it. Don't worry.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, go ahead. It's actually the rest of your reader, though, so you can finish it.
So some of the teams that typically play in the fall will be playing in the spring as well. Soccer and volleyball will be playing in the spring, but let's check out the start dates for the traditional spring sports in 2 weeks. Both the men's and the women's lacrosse teams will be back in action. The men hosting St. Bonaventure and the women traveling to Fairfield. And at the end of the month, it's Bobcats baseball opening up at Monmouth with the softball team playing at Ryder. It's been almost 2 years since some teams played their last games in Hamden. The Quinnipiac baseball team had won back-to-back games and was staring down its home opener when the season was canceled last year. They haven't played at home since winning the MAC title in 2019. You see the highlights there. Kyle Maves, big junior season coming up for the Canadian native. Now the women's lacrosse team has the distinction of playing the last game on campus before the COVID shutdown. They lost that game to Binghamton and finished at 3-4. Oh man, how I wish we could be back at the Quinnipiac Soccer and Lacrosse Stadium. Now the softball team played 5 games in California and 6 in Florida. Hillary Smith's squad finished 2-9 in those 11 games. And finally, men's lacrosse went 0-6 in the early part of last season, but looked to do damage in the MAC before things were shut down.
And now, Jacob, that's all well and good, but we also have fall sports happening in the spring. This is a hot topic. What should we call them? Should we call them fall sports for this semester? That's a different discussion. But regardless, campus will be packed with sports all spring long. The women's volleyball team is coming off a loss in the MAC championship to Fairfield, an underdog run to the final there for the 6th-seeded Bobcats. But right now, let's look at what's on there, the fall preview. Men's soccer against Manhattan, March 11th at 2:30, among 3 other teams there. But let's run through that, starting with the volleyball team, and I kind of touched on it. A really good start to Kyle Robinson's tenure. Their number 6-seeded Bobcats kind of come out of nowhere and get to the MAC championship. They fell to Fairfield 3-1. that was good for them. And then the men's soccer team, number 2 in the regular season, but they fell to Iona in the MAC semifinals. That was Josh Plimpton there getting the first goal. Brog Austin answered there in that game for the Bobcats in Hamden. Also in the MAC semifinals falling was the women's soccer team. You guys are going to see Dave Clark's squad popping up here. There it is. They fought their way all the way to the Final Four of the MAC tournament, but fell to Fairfield 1-0. And then the field hockey team, who were playing right there on your screen, they were 5-13, and they're looking to rebound with the winning season in Big East play.
And of course, the preseason means MAC awards, and Quinnipiac men's soccer sophomore forward Tomas Svekula was named to the all-conference first team. Svekula is a year removed from his MAC Rookie of the Year campaign, which saw him finish second on the Bobcats with 6 goals. Svekula and the Bobcats were picked to finish second in the coaches' poll, just 1 point behind first place St. Peter's.
And Svekula will have to shoulder that scoring load for the Bobcats. Eamon Whalen, one of the best goal scorers in program history, no longer with the team. He's at UConn doing some dental school, a little different than playing footy. But now it's time for the top 5 plays. You've all been waiting for it. Let's hit it on those top 5 plays. And starting off, play number 5 here, Jonathan Banks, Jacob Resnick with you on these top 5 plays. Lewis Courtright, dashing, slashing, thrashing, and scoring. Difficult and one layup for him. Quinnipiac wins.
All play number 4, more of Sienna's Isis Young showing off some serious range. Knocks down the long-range 3 for the Saints.
Number 3, just like EK plays in Jack Main on the intramural court, Kiara Bikini the steal. Mackenzie DeWeese catches the feed, and a pretty finish in transition. That's EK plays there. Quinnipiac, however, would lose that one.
Number 2, we cheated a little bit. We're going to show you 2 plays here. They both involve Seth Pinkney. Gets the lob from Savion Lewis. And one more in transition. Taimu Shinnery throws it up for the big man. Throws it down. Number 1, take us home, JB.
Yeah, and this is the classic play here. Quinnipiac basketball. Pass to pass to pass. Wait, to pass. Wait, there's no one to pass. To pass, assist. Beautiful ball movement. Jacob Rigoni with the finish there. That's our top play of the week, Jacob.
And in celebration of Black History Month, we've been recognizing some of Quinnipiac's outstanding black student athletes throughout February. And given that this is our last show of the month, we'll be spotlighting 2 more premier Bobcats tonight. Shamil Samuels graduated in 2016 after spending 4 years on the women's track and field team. Samuels was born in Jamaica but went to high school in Hartford before coming to Quinnipiac, where she was a 2-time MAC champion in the 200-meter event. Samuels was also named as the 2014-15 Quinnipiac Female Athlete of the Year.
Quinnipiac men's basketball's Cam Young was another outstanding black athlete who graced the halls of Lender Court. The Inglewood, California native scored at will as a Bobcat in his last year in the blue and gold. Young averaged over 23 points a game and recorded the single-season record in points for a season at Quinnipiac. He was also the MAC Player of the Year in a historical final season. Young is currently pursuing his professional career on the hardwood in Italy.
Absolutely.
Were you hearing something about a weekend preview here or not? Because we can talk about that.
We can talk about it. I think there's going to be some more basketball games this weekend. Unfortunately, we had the Wednesday game against Siena was canceled for the men's basketball team, but I know they're looking to do some damage as we come up on the end of the MAC regular season. Ice hockey winding down as well. It's crunch time. We're coming towards the playoffs.
And we're coming to a time here. You're going to look 2 weeks from now. There are going to be about 7 to 10 games on campus per weekend. It's going to be a great time in the spring, but as we push down towards the end of this show, I wanted to remind you something. This goes back to the Black History Month little segment we have that I think is great, highlights a lot of black athletes. Cam Young, for me, the best athlete I've seen at Quinnipiac. He dropped a 50-burger on Siena, 55 points. And that's something I'm sure you would have done if you didn't hurt your foot this winter on the intramural courts. But glad the foot's better. You can go back to playing like Cam Young in triple overtime against Siena when it comes back.
Still a sore spot for me. Thanks.
Literally a sore spot. That's all the time we have tonight, I think. It's a sign of spring sports. We talked about that. Here to come. We're letting the teleprompter catch up to us. No big deal. Live TV. Stuff happens. Take us home, Jacob.
All right. Spring training. Baseball is rocking and rolling. Spring sports at Quinnipiac are just around the corner. And that's all for tonight. For Jonathan Banks, I'm Jacob Resnick. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place.